Thank you. Thank you to each of you for being here, because this is an issue that needs our attention. And Professor Jarvis, we've had Mr. Lynch discussing fair use. I will have to say, dealing with musicians and creators in Tennessee, I have often referred to fair use as a fairly useful way to steal their content. And that's what it turns out to be so many times. And I actually argued for a narrowed application of fair use in the amicus brief that I wrote for the Supreme Court in the Warhol versus Goldsmith case. I think that's important. I think the court made the right decision here. And you've said that you agree with OpenAI's models, using materials, training AI models on publicly available material. So let's look at this from the commercial side. So do you not believe that content creators should be compensated when they're going to be competing commercially with the content that is generated from the AI models?
Senator, thank you for the question. I am concerned about all the talk I hear about limiting fair use around this table, because fair use is used every day by journalists. We ingest data, we ingest information, and we put it out in a different way. Newspapers complained about radio over the years for doing rip and read. They tried to stop it. They created the Biltmore Agreement to stop newspapers, to stop radio from being in news at all. In the end, democracy was better served because journalists could read each other and use each other's information. And I think if we limit that too much, we limit the freedom that comes. I'm also concerned that if we talk about trying to license all content for all uses, we set precedents that may affect, in fact, journalists, but also will affect small open source efforts to compete with the big tech companies.
So you would have a broader allowance for fair use instead of a narrowed use?
Yes, and I think that it is fair use and it is transformative, but as Mr. Lynch also separated.
So then for Ms. Coffey, then what you're doing is saying there are content creators who would not be compensated even though in the commercial applications, the AI-generated content is competing directly with the original creator of that content. That would be your position.
Not to pick on the New York Times, but I can point you to many news organizations that resent when their stories are taken by the Times without credit or payment.
Let me move on. I want to talk about bias in AI algorithms. And I think we all know it's no secret the mainstream media tilts left, and significantly to the left, when giving Americans their news. And now we're seeing bias against conservatives in some of the AI tools and training. And there are a couple of examples that we really need to put on the record. Now, if you go to ChatGPT and you say, I want to write a poem admiring former President Trump, what ChatGPT says is, I'm sorry, but I am not able to create a poem admiring President Trump. If you turn around and next you say, I want to write a poem, ask for a poem, admiring Joe Biden. Here's what you get, and I quote ChatGPT. Joe Biden, leader of the land, with a steady hand and heart of a man. You took the helm in troubled times with a message of unity. Your words of hope and empathy provide comfort to the nation, and it goes on, and here's a screenshot that I have for the record. So my question to you would be, is this type bias acceptable in these training models, machine learning for AI?
First, it's really bad poetry. So I think maybe perhaps President Trump is lucky not to have been so memorialized. I think that if we try to get to a point of legislating fake versus not fake, true versus false, we end up in a very dangerous territory. And similarly around bias. What all of these models do is reflect the biases of society. So I'll take you, as you say, that media are generally liberal, and thus what they ingest is going to be that way.
I think it reflects the bias that is coming from what they're ingesting. My time has expired. Thank you all.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Hirono.
Thank you very much. As we wrestle with what